up, friends? It's F. Thomas Battinger here one more time with the Esports Awards, and this time I'm around with, I always say we've got royalty in the building, but frankly speaking, it's at least nobility, man. Andrew Barton, how you doing, man? Thanks for joining us.
Hey, doing great. Thanks for having me, Thomas.
So, Andrew Barton, straight up, first of all, you are GM of Evil Geniuses, general manager. Let's dissect that, because you've been a GM in esports for a couple of years now through a couple of different organizations and all that. And I think some fans at home might be familiar with what a GM does in trad sports, right? What the front office does for their favorite professional team. But in esports, a lot of times these familiar titles are a little bit different. So what's your role as a GM?
Yeah, so, I would say each esports organizations holds their GM really in a different facet. A lot of them utilize them in different functions and whatnot. Here at Evil Geniuses, I'm in charge, of all of our competitive rosters. So whether that's Valorant, CSGO, Dota 2, League of Legends, I'm in charge of all of it. Diving in with the players, diving in with the coaching staff on really how we build up championship rosters and, how we set up our teams for success. So I've had a lot of experience with that in the past. And so, was happy with, this past week where we were able to bring home our first championship finally.
You mentioned a breadth of different, games and disciplines. So first and foremost, there's a discipline to just being a GM, game independent. And then, of course, we drill down into what it takes to finding talent specifically for Valorant or specifically for Counter-Strike, etc. So talk to me a little bit about that first part. Like, what does it take to be just a general manager?
I think it's super tricky, and it's definitely a skill set that not a lot of people have. But, I think truth be told, it's all about the people I surround myself with. And, when I enter into any title, it's not necessarily me coming out as, having that highest of game knowledge. It really comes about, surrounding myself with the right people and be able to execute on decision making through not only myself but through my staff. And so, whether it is League of Legends, Valorant, I try to surround myself with the best staff, and that's how I have found success generally, going from title to title.
Cool approach there, especially for the fans that are a little less familiar with what the GM does. But like you said, you're a part of a big whole, but the big hole this year is the league team, right? I mean, you guys have been absolutely crushing. Congratulations, finding yourselves at the top of the LCS for the first time ever. That's incredible for an organization and a brand like Evil Geniuses. I'm going to give you kind of the floor here and just give you a chance to talk a little bit about the league team and the process creating it.
Yeah, I think, coming over to Evil Geniuses from Dignitas, it was a very tall task, having absolutely zero assets to work with. And, I go back to the staff that I surrounded myself with initially. A lot of them followed me from Dignitas, joining me on this journey. And, quite frankly, I was blunt with them. Guys, this is going to be really hard. We're starting from absolute scratch. But, as a staff, we were building something at Clutch Gaming and Dignitas. We're going to continue it here, and we're going to build upon what we learned. And this time with, the resources and backing of Evil Geniuses. And so when we entered in the league, we learned a lot. We needed to build a name for ourselves. We needed to build up that brand power. We needed players to believe in our management and our structures. And so, really the learnings from years 1 and 2, it's all led up to this moment where, I'm able to bring up, the amateur team. This was something, I've been trying to put together for so long, because, I think there are such talented players. Age does not matter to me. I think there are skilled players. Age doesn't matter. And, I needed to establish an amateur program to give those players a platform to perform. And so really, once I was able to establish my amateur team, it was, I had a different subset of players to work with, and I could work on building them within my system up to Academy and LCS. And, we really saw that with Danny, where it was, he goes from amateur all the way to LCS. But I think, with some of these players, I have to be able to have very honest conversations with them, Jojo and Danny, young players, and I have to look them in the face, and they have to be able to tell me that I am absolutely ready for this moment. And that is something I'm very direct with my players on, because with the resources I have at EG, I know I can put the right players around them, but I have to have that core of players who, I've worked up through my system. They understand how my coaches work. They understand our goals, what we're going to do. And then I'm able to slot in pieces around them that are able to adjust to how these players are, and we're able to get those results out of them.
Let's break down that process just a little bit. You found Danny out here, you find these talents, and the way that you manage and mature them, we've talked a little bit about. And, we've obviously seen the results sure, y'all winning and stuff. But where do you find that talent and make that initial like, hey, what's up? Want to join EG? Where does that come from?
So I think it starts in two areas. One, our data science team and what we have going on there. Big initiative when I joined EG was, focusing in on our data and analytics, what's going on there. There is so much within esports that has not been tapped into on the data side. And I think it can be super hard to be able to digest and analyze that data and all that's there without the context and knowledge of the game, because we can look at data, but if you don't understand what it means, how can you apply it? And so that is something that, I have focused on so much when it comes to that aspect of the business on the data side. But I also look at our scouts and, what they're able to provide us with, a lot of the eye tests generally. And then, on the data side, I'm looking to back up what my scouts are saying. So both sides are really connected and I'm able to make the most educated decisions on our roster. So, two parts of it, the data side and then our scouts, both performing their functions, and it's on me to execute that.
Now, I gotta ask it just because I gotta ask it. What are your expectations for MSI, man? You're in Korea right now. Like, what's the plan? Obviously, you want to win, but what's the idea here?
We 100% want to win. Like I said, it's first place or that's it. That's my goal. Goal is first place. But I think, to be realistic and whatnot, it goes back to my point about this is part of our process is really understanding where our players are at an international level. We're jumping into scrims. I'm getting to see, JoJo against Faker. I'm getting to see Danny against other wildcard teams. And it is super awesome to be able to see their growth and evolution. And my hope is that we're going to be able to take back what we learned here, go into Summer Split and go, wow, this is so much easier than what we did back at MSI. Like, this is crazy. So, and then we're going to be able to apply that at the Worlds. And so I spoke about that earlier, but going back to MSI, I want to see, how we contend against these Eastern teams. T1 is looking so excellent. They had an undefeated split. We have RNG coming out from China. We've got, G2 coming from Europe. And, I'm excited to go against these major region teams and really represent our region proud.
Off the top here, nothing too serious, but like who would you say was the biggest surprise for you when you grabbed them and saw their growth, whether it's league or otherwise, by the way?
I think it's ultimately Danny. What we asked out of him last year, I go back to, in between spring and summer, evaluating what changes we needed to make. And, it ultimately came down to a lot of our team fighting and such. And, we had a very special player in Amateur. But what we were asking out of him was to skip Academy, go all the way into the LCS with players like Jizuke and Impact who, have aspirations of making Worlds. And, that is absurd to ask out of a 17-year-old player who has not played competitive. He's played amateur, and that's where, people are having fun, learning about the game, deciding if this is a career path for him. And so, really when I entered into that conversation with him, it's like I said before, I asked him, are you ready for this? Do you want it? And he told me, yes, I'm ready. I will perform. I will be there. And, this kid came in May and he still had to finish high school. He was going through his final exams and we were going through practice and, he was going through absolute hell to finish all of that. And, he finally finished early June, was able to focus on the game. But what was so interesting about him is, he never got scared, never got complacent. It was just, he showed up every day. He wanted to put in the work. He understood from everyone. We told him, our expectations and whatnot, and he took it in stride. I talked about, how high of expectations we have here at EG, and to be able to place that on a 17-year-old kid like that, who didn't go through Academy, did not necessarily go through our systems. He just tackled it in full force, and I couldn't be more proud of him.
It's insane. I mean, you hear these stories and, esports has always been there, but especially now with all the infrastructure and everything, they just, I hear the same thing from, traditional athletes and stuff like that. So it's cool to see that these stories are really out there. And, Danny has been one of the most prolific players that we've seen in a long time. And I've been really impressed here. I do have one tweet that I want to bring up real quick. Security around scrims is always really important. but we did get some leaks actually, and I wanted to know how vital Harley was to the team's operations. It's a very important question to me. Harley seems like they're very important. I need to know.
Harley, that's our director of operations, gaming operations, Renee Hall's dog. The sweetest thing ever. The team dog is vital to scrims. Players come out of scrims. Maybe we had a good game, bad game. Harley's there to greet you, ready to go. Come in the scrim room. I mean, it's a part of the culture. It's very important.
not even kidding. I mean, I can honestly see. Listen, I just like dogs. I just wanted to bring it up, man. But looks like the culture is great. As we said, you guys are finding the dubs. You guys are here in MSI, as I mentioned. You're broadcasting live from Korea, so I'm sure you guys have things to get to. However, this was a great conversation, man. Wonderful to meet you.
I really enjoyed it. I appreciate you guys bringing along, and just to add in, I really do want to call out, our veterans here, being Impact inspired and Vulcan. These are 3 players who joined us with younger players like JoJo and Danny. And, I could not be more thankful for them in trusting in not only my vision, EG's vision, the coaching staff vision, and believing in us.
I hear it. I am buying what you're selling, man. I'm very, very excited for the future of Evil Geniuses. The success with the league team has been fantastic, and I'm going to keep my eyes on some of the other squads, knowing just how much you and everybody work together to keep that wheel rolling. So, again, congratulations on your victories so far. Can't wait to see more, and we'll talk to you for sure in the latter half of the year. But that does it here at the Esports Awards. Thanks for joining us, friends. Andy, thanks so much for joining us. So we'll see you later.
Thanks, guys.